Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
It's a rainy, wet, miserable day. The wind's blowing, our marquee's just about blowing away. You know, I was lying in the bus last night, listening to the rain, listening to the marquee blow around, thinking we were going to lose it. And it reminded me of something that happened a few years back. So here's a thought for the day. Yeah, so she's a pretty nasty day outside. I'm hoping that you'll be able to hear me over the rain. But yeah, I was lying in bed, as I said, I was lying in bed last night and listening to our gazebo get blown around, thinking, man, I hope it's going to be there in the morning. And it just reminded me of something that happened a few years back when we first moved into our little bus, our little 6-metre bus before we were travelling. We were parked up in somebody's paddock. Somebody was really nice to lend us their paddock, let us stay in their paddock while we were saving to hit the road full time. And twice this happened. I couldn't believe it. Twice it happened. We went away and we bought one of those great big long sort of carport gazebos which we had outside our bus, and we had it kind of as an outdoor living area with the barbecue and stuff like that, just to make it a little bit nicer, you know, with coping living in a paddock for 7 months. And I remember we went away for a weekend, and when we got back we saw our fridge sitting in the middle of the paddock and everything was covered with a tarp and wrapped up, and our big gazebo was in a big pile and all the poles were bent and buckled and all that sort of stuff. And apparently a strong wind had come through and just taken the gazebo away across the paddock. And the neighbour had been wonderful enough to go and pick it up, and we thanked you very much and stuff. And then I remember we went away again. This was like a few months later. And we came back. We got a text message from someone saying, "Oh, your gazebo's blown away again." Couldn't believe it. So we drove back, and sure enough, it was completely wrecked this time. The poles had taken a hammering the first time, but this time they had snapped and were completely ruined. And I don't think the person will mind me sharing this story. When I got back, this person who was meaning well and stuff, but they were just like, your life, it's just one failure after another. It's just a failure after another, and they were referring to how twice we'd gone away and both times our gazebo just happened to blow away and get ruined to pieces. And they started rabbiting on about, how everything just goes wrong for us and maybe we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. We were saving to go travelling. There were people, friends, well-meaning friends had other plans for us, but we were going to travel no matter what because we felt it was the right thing to do. And I remember this person just sort of going off and losing their rag at me, going, your life's just falling apart, it's such a failure at the moment. And I interrupted them and basically just gave them what for back, because I wasn't going to wear that. I'm going to share a story. I have shared this before, I'm going to share it again. I used to jump out of aeroplanes for fun. I'd only done 13 jumps in total, so not a whole lot, but I was going for my skydiving license, ended up getting to jump 13 and going off and doing my OE. But I remember on my 8th jump was one of those days and most skydivers that this has happened to have all said it as well, is I just had this uneasy feeling. It was like one of those days, it was just like things aren't quite feeling right. And we were packing my parachute and we were joking about, you've probably got a line over or something, which is where there's 11 lines that you've got to look for when you're packing your chute, and you have to have them all together down the centre before you start packing, folding everything in. And if one of those lines have escaped or you don't find it, it's quite a possibility that it's actually wrapped around part of your parachute. And I wasn't checking that part. There were three, I know this is really bad, but there were 3 of us packing my chute. I was a student, so I was learning, and that was fine. And we were joking about, you're probably going to have a line over or something because we've all been packing your chute. And I was like, yeah, laugh. And then we got into the plane to take off, for the jump. And I remember getting in the plane and just having this really uneasy feeling, thinking, yeah, something's not right. I don't feel like I should be jumping today. and then we taxied out to the runway, but we had to stop because there was another passenger plane coming in, and it was at that moment I was thinking, boy, is this just another chance for me to say I'm not jumping and hop out of the plane, because we had to sit there for 5 minutes waiting for this Saab to land. And I thought, nah, you're just being silly and overreacting. And then we got to about 5,000 feet, and I remember looking out the window thinking, you know what, anything could happen out there, you just don't know. And it's like, you know, but the view's amazing. And then we got to altitude and it was my time to jump, and so I went out the door, and it's really cool. We used to hang from the wing strut on the plane, and when it was your turn you just let go, so you had to climb out the door, hang on, let go, put on a good arch. But when I went to deploy my chute, I remember looking at it thinking, oh nah, it's fine, not a problem. And then my brain sort of took over, you know, and was like, hold on a minute, something's not right. And I looked up again, and I had what's referred to as a bag of washing, which is usually caused by a line over. And sure enough, it had wrapped around, and my parachute was just a ball of nylon, you know, and it was like, oh no. And I remember everything kind of going into slow motion, and I was looking down. You have a cutaway handle that you pull to get away from your main chute, and then you get your reserve chute out, and everything should be great. But I remember talking to my cutaway handle going, oh, I've got to pull you and I don't want to. You know, it was only my 8th jump, and the adrenaline, you know, was starting to flow, and I thought, nah, I've just got to do it. And I remember pulling that cutaway handle, going back into free fall, getting the reserve out, and just feeling the adrenaline just whack through my body. And I remember looking out over New Plymouth when this happened, and just feeling the adrenaline go. And yeah, but my reserve chute came out. But the thing is, you know, that was a scary time, but it was an amazing learning time. You know, I remember for 3 days afterwards, I was on such a high that I remember going mountain biking and doing crazy things on my mountain bike that I wouldn't normally do, because you go through these weird stages of shock, you sleep, you wake up, and you just don't feel like talking or anything. And then I remember the next 3 days was just, you just felt invincible. It was the craziest feeling. Why did I share this story? Well, it kind of ties in with the gazebo. You know, the thing with the skydiving is I was pursuing a dream of mine, and that was to jump out of a plane. It's something I always wanted to do, you know, and apparently statistically the chances of getting a malfunction that early in your when you're learning to jump is very, very unlikely. But it did just happen to me. Didn't happen to happen. Yeah, it happened. But you know, I didn't let that beat me, and I got up and I did 5 more jumps before packing up and taking off to the UK and Africa and that for, you know, go and have a look around the place. The thing is, a lot of people would go, oh no way, I'm never going to skydive, because, you know, that could happen to me, something could go wrong. And yes, it could, it's very possible. And it's like, I remember this person, when they started bagging me for, you know, our gazebo flying away twice, and just how to them it was such a big failure and so overwhelming, and how could we think we're doing the right thing if stuff like this is happening? And it's like, you know, I think sometimes we're easily convinced that when bad stuff happens, something's wrong, or our life is going wrong, or we're heading down the wrong track or something. But the reality is, the thing with skydiving, the skydiving story is, yes, my parachute didn't open, and yes, it could happen to anybody. But the thing is, I got to do something that a lot of people will never do in a lifetime. You know, it's like, yes, things went wrong that day that I jumped out of the plane, but I had 12 other jumps that were amazing, that felt so free, and that had an incredible view. And the thing is, if I had let that day that went wrong stop me from continuing to pursue my dreams, I would never ever have the views or experience the experiences that I had. So at the end of the day, you know, you've got to ask yourself, do you want to live a life where you're kind of just going from day to day and you're not entirely happy and you've still got dreams and goals? Or do you want to live a life where the view is amazing and the experience is amazing? Because I can promise you, in both situations, things are going to go wrong. So at the end of the day, it's just simply our choice what experiences we'd prefer to have. And we've had some setbacks at times, you know. I mean, heck, you know, we've been travelling and following our dream. In August last year, I had a major heart attack and a stroke. You know, that wasn't part of the plan when I'm following my dream, and yet it happened. And the thing is, in life, stuff will happen, good and bad. And it doesn't matter whether you're pursuing your dreams or whether you're not pursuing your dreams. You know, I didn't want my parachute to not open, you know, I didn't want to have a heart attack, I didn't want our gazebo and stuff to go flying all over the paddock. But it's life, and things happen in life, you know. But don't let that stop you pursuing the life that you want to live. The funny thing is, this is what amazes me, is that my heart attack was a horrible thing. I don't wish it upon anyone. The stroke, I still do really dumb stuff. You know, my brain has days where, especially when I get tired, and I just do some stupid stuff. But the thing is, in a funny way, it's actually kind of worked out better, because we've got a better layout in our bus, or one that we like more, something that we've wanted to do for a long time. We may be in a smaller bus, but it feels like we've got more room to move. You know, we wanted to pursue something while we were travelling, something on our bucket list. I won't say what that is right here, most of you know anyway. You know, but it's put us in a position where we could buy a food cart and go and do something that we've been wanting to do since we started travelling. And so out of the bad actually came some stuff that was really good, that may not have actually fallen together the way it has had things been going so perfectly all the time. You know, I've seen a lot of people give up on their dreams, or actually not even begin, because they're so worried about what could go wrong. You know, and I just see it time and time again where people get so far, and as soon as something goes wrong, then that's it. They just tend to give up. I think sometimes we just look at things and think, oh, it's all wrong, something's not right, something bad has happened. But I think we just need to stop, refocus, and just reassess how we're going to move forward. You know, I would much rather do that than be living a life I'm miserable with, to be honest. So yeah, just get out there and start living that life.